Welcome to the Minorities Report podcast. My name is Antonio Alcazar.
And I'm Jason. Thanks, I'm British. Tells people I'm British. Tells my family I'm British. Tech noir.
We did Snatch today.
We snatched them up, boy. This is 2000.
Yeah. Okay. So
Guy Ritchie.
hold on. A couple of things I wanted to say
Hell yeah.
on the outset before we get into this movie.
Hell yeah.
Two things. I hope I remember both because I remember that they were going to be two things. The first is that
1, 2.
I want to get in front of the people who are going to be like, you know, why didn't you review an old movie? This isn't a place where we review old movies.
Yeah.
We have reviewed a lot of older movies from the 70s and 80s, because I haven't seen those movies. That's
This is a place where we review movies you haven't seen.
Exactly, that's it.
Yes.
Now, I think
Classics, like popular films.
I had
mostly.
made a comment to somebody that we were going to review Black Hawk Down, and they're like, "That's weird, you know, like that doesn't fit in the, you know, like the time that you've been reviewing the other movies." And I'm like, "Oh, this isn't. There's some confusion, right?"
Yes.
We started this podcast because I haven't seen a lot of old movies that Jason likes. And he was
I
always
would call them classics because it's not I like.
a lot of things that
most
we're
people
going to
like.
watch aren't classics. Snatch isn't a classic. It's a classic.
We'll get there.
Okay, so I hadn't seen a lot of movies that Jason likes. And he would make references to movies, and even though we talked a lot about the movies that I had seen, he was always surprised to hear how many movies I hadn't seen.
Yeah.
Especially some older movies, and there's good reasons that we've gotten into.
We discussed that in the first
other episodes.
yeah.
But this movie, for instance, came out in the year 2000. I just never saw it, and Jason likes it, so that's why we're reviewing it.
This is, I think you are underestimating how popular this film was, because this came out around the same time as Fight Club and all that stuff, and it was definitely an underground hit. Like, it was definitely well. I mean, think about it, it's not like this wasn't a financial hit, too, man. This thing had a $10 million budget, $90 million out.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, times 9 on its money in versus money out. So, like, that's pretty good in the swing. That's like horror movie level success.
Yeah,
so
pretty successful.
It was
I just wanted to get ahead of that. Though.
Right.
Yeah.
I got you. Yep.
And then there was another thing, and I can't remember what the other thing was, so I'm just going to drop it. And if it comes back up, I will bring it up. And if
Hell yeah. So let me ask you, have you seen any Guy Ritchie films?
I don't think so. Was Smoking Aces a Guy Ritchie film?
No, it was not.
Okay, it had a very. This
That was
had
like
a very
an American version of a Guy Ritchie film.
Okay, yeah.
So,
was Ocean's 11 a Guy Ritchie film?
Okay, so these are his movies, because we're not going to have you guess his movies for the next.
Well,
20 minutes.
the reason I'm saying that is because that's the feel that I got from them. Yeah.
So he started with Lock, Stock.
I'll say this. If those two movies that I just said aren't Guy Ritchie movies, those directors really like Guy Ritchie movies.
So the movies that he's done, Lock, Stock, and Smoking Barrels.
Haven't
is his
seen
first
that one.
This was his second film. Rock and Rolla, The Gentleman, which was his newest one. Sherlock Holmes with Robert Downey Jr.
I have seen that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And King Arthur with Charlie Hunnam or whatever that guy's name is.
That one I was going to see, and then just never ended up going, and then I heard it was bad, so I stopped.
It's bad to people who don't like Guy Ritchie. It is. I loved that movie. I did not see it in the theater. I threw it on an HBO, and I have a bunch of friends who love Guy Ritchie as well, and they all skipped it, and I was like, you're gonna want to check this one out. It even has the same like cuts and stuff like that he's known for, and they all watched it and they all liked it too. So we'll get deeper into this, but if you like his style, it's definitely worth watching. It's a King Arthur tale. I mean, it's over the top. Like in the beginning, the Persians are attacking the Bretonians, and there's gigantic elephants that are like, 17 times the size of man and stuff like that. You know, they're elephants basically.
Sure, and so this is supposed to be semi fantasy.
Yeah, it's total fantasy.
Oh, okay.
It's King Arthur.
No. I don't mean like he wasn't going for realistic.
No, there's like a Merlin. There's all this stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Oh, that's cool.
But there's
maybe I'll still go back and watch that one.
There's still, because you can't go without it, there's still a small crime syndicate that's in the ancient London or whatever that has the same kind of cuts.
Well, I like that now I have a reference for what a Guy Ritchie movie is.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think Sherlock Holmes really fit into this.
The cuts definitely did.
Yeah,
like the way they
maybe
cut things and stuff like that. Yeah, but okay, so we'll get right into the film then. Old Paramount logo right off the start. That I've totally does Paramount still do movies?
I think so.
Okay.
Do you miss Paramount?
No, not really.
Do you miss those stars going over the mountain?
Yeah, I don't know.
Does it bring you back to like going to movie theaters and going, man, the world is so cool?
Yeah, pretty much. So we jump right in, and it's a young Jason Statham. I mean, I'm sure you're
surprised. I'm really surprised with Jason Statham not taking off his shirt or beating anybody up in this movie.
Yeah,
there was a lot
of way before.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna. Yeah. It must have been because there was a lot of scenes where like I was just like, okay, and now he is gonna be like, I'm the real badass here, and it never happened. I was just like, did Jason Statham not know that he was an action star?
I think this was his second movie.
Oh, really?
It's really early in his career.
That's
definitely.
interesting.
Yep. Yeah. Young Stephen Graham. Are you familiar with this guy at all?
He seemed familiar, but I can't place him.
He was in Pirates. He was in 3 of the pirate movies, I think. Pirates of the Caribbean.
Really?
He was in The Irishman. And did you ever watch Boardwalk Empire?
No, I didn't see Boardwalk Empire, but I've seen the other things that you just said.
Yeah, he was. He played Al Capone in Boardwalk Empire. That's probably his. And he was in Band of Brothers as well. So I don't know if you saw that.
I have seen Band of Brothers.
Yeah.
In 30-second increments.
Sure.
For 5 years, I lived with a guy that would watch Band of Brothers one time a year. And I lived with him for 5 years. By a really good friend.
So you saw it 5 times.
And so 5 times I would see it in 30-second increments.
Yeah. So basically, Jason Statham plays a character named Turkish and his partner named Tommy. These are your 2 main characters, and we jump right into narration by Turkish, who kind of starts to set up the story. And this story is presented in a unique way, and he's sitting down and he's kind of describing some of the things going on, and he kind of talks about how he doesn't know anything about diamonds or whatnot. He's a small time guy. So and then they jump into the credits and whatnot. And did you notice
the credits were really interesting
when you saw
the credits played out like an anime intro?
Well, that's the second. The other credits. We'll get to that part too. Okay. But when you saw all the characters that were in this, were you like, how have I not seen this movie? Because like everybody is in this film.
Not really.
No?
I mean,
okay.
So I recognize obviously Benicio del Toro. He's a guy that
he's the first Bill.
Yeah, for sure.
Brad Pitt.
Very weird that he was their first Bill because he dies so quickly.
Yeah. Well, but he's one of the biggest actors in it besides
in the movie.
Brad
for sure.
Pitt.
And then Brad Pitt was in it. Yeah. But apart from that, it was just a lot of smaller dudes.
No, I don't think so. I think maybe smaller guys because you don't recognize them. But like I know almost every single actor from multiple films and things.
Really?
Like that. Yeah, we'll get.
I knew them from some films.
Okay.
Like the guy who had been shot 6 times.
Bullet Tooth Tony.
Yeah, Bullet Tooth Tony.
Vinny Jones.
I'd seen him in a bunch of movies.
Yeah, he's been in a bunch of shit.
Yeah, but like I wasn't just like, oh, I can't believe I haven't seen it because he's in it. I don't know him like that.
Okay, cool. So we start off. It jumps from there, and it jumps into a jewel heist.
You really like that one, but you really wanted to say that.
Yeah. So with Frankie Four Fingers, aka Benicio del Toro, and basically they hold up a Jewish jewel place, a place that cuts diamonds and whatnot.
Sure, yeah.
And they rip off a very, very huge high-end diamond.
Yeah.
And they get away from
84 karat fucking, like not even real.
Right.
It couldn't even form in real life-size diamond.
Yeah, exactly. And so then we go from that. They get the stones. They jump into their van to get away, and then that's the intro you're talking about.
Yes,
because that's the anime version of the intro where we're not introducing you to the actors. We're introducing you to the characters that they're playing. So it's like Frankie Fourfinger, and it goes through all the different characters they're going to play.
And that was a really fun intro.
Yeah.
But I was thinking they better live up, like this intro better live up to the hype. Like I better care about all these fucking human beings because they're going through a lot of trouble to set up
to show you everybody. And it's very cartoonish, like what's going on. Because like, Gorgeous George punches and he hits and it's into Tommy or whatever, stuff like that or whatever. So yeah, a lot of silly names because they're like gangster names and whatnot, but they're British gangster names. So it's fun. So Frankie, one of the people he does his job with is a Russian guy, and the Russian advises. No, it's not Boris. It's Boris's cousin. Okay, and Boris's cousin tells.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're talking
Frankie,
Benicio del Toro when they're in the van,
right?
Yeah,
and he tells Frankie that he needs to go hook up with Boris because Boris sells guns and he'll get him a good gun and whatnot. So he gets ready to go do that. Then we jump over. There's a lot of jumps in this movie. Like, that's the whole thing of the film, is it jumps from scene to scene to scene to scene. We go from that over to Turkish and Tommy, and they need a new caravan, which is for English people basically a trailer home. They want to pick up a new one. Tommy goes to buy a gun from Boris because he has to deal with it. Again, this is very sporadic how this is being delivered, because we get the caravan scene.
Yeah.
Then it goes to Tommy wanting to go buy a gun from Boris, and then they jump into why Tommy wants to buy a gun in the first place.
Yeah.
Because Tommy and Turkish run like an arcade, but for us, that's like a little casino thing where they have a slot machine.
Exactly. It's like a tiny casino.
Right, exactly that.
A bunch of slot machines and shit.
Yes.
That's their arcade.
But at the same time, they also deal with illegal boxing rings. That's kind of where they're like starting to break into.
They're essentially the manager of a boxer.
Right, exactly that. Yeah. And they have to deal with a dude named Bricktop if they want to be in this business. And Bricktop is like a older, very kind of raggedy.
He's like a mob boss.
Yeah, he's a mob boss. That's exactly what he is, a British mob boss, but very raggedy, sort of tough as nails kind of dude.
Yeah, tough as nails as fuck. For
yeah, exactly. So he wants to buy a gun because he's dealing with harsher criminals than they used to deal with and whatnot as well. And I think it's important to note, I just want to kind of bring this up as a side note, that like being a gangster in like the UK is a lot different than being a gangster in the United States. Mm-hmm. In part because, you know, in the United States, all of us own guns, bro. Mm-hmm. Everybody owns a gun in the United States. Obviously, that's not the same in the UK. So if you deal with a certain level of criminal, they're probably not armed like they are here. Like almost every criminal is fucking armed here, right? Like people getting shot all the fucking time here. That's not the same in there. So you have to be like, in my estimation, you have to be a little bit tougher to be a British mobster because you basically have to be able to fight. You know, they probably fight a lot more. This is all, I'm not British, so I don't want to assume.
Oh, I thought you lived like 20 years in Britain.
I did.
Yeah, didn't you grow up there?
I did, actually. Yeah. It was quite a time. We'll get into the intricacies of exactly how we do.
Specifically to that, man, there was a couple of moments where I was just like, should I put on subtitles for this?
We'll get to some behind the scenes stuff with regards to that. Okay. So we cut over to Boris's cousin. He gives a call to Boris, and he wants him to hire someone to steal a diamond from Frankie Four Fingers.
He's just like, hey, there's going to be a guy.
Yep.
Steal from him, please.
Yes. Get this diamond from him. And Boris is like, yeah, okay. But his cousin tells him, you can't do it yourself, though, because they'll trace it back to me, because you're my cousin. So hire somebody to do it for me, for us, and then we'll, split it up from there.
Sure.
So Frankie Four Fingers gives a call to Cousin Evie. This is another actor I know from a lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah. That guy is in a lot of stuff.
He was in, like, Law and Order for many years. Sure, he's in a lot of cop shows and stuff like that. He lets them know that the heist went over well. Everything's good to go. They have the diamond. They're ready to score. Evie's like, good job. I'm very proud of you, Frankie. You did good. Now just stay low key, and I'll be there, and we'll hook up. But no gambling. Just do not get involved in gambling whatsoever. So, and then you get a funny kind of very, this is what kind of Guy Ritchie, in my opinion, is known for, because it goes from Benicio, like, hearing that to a cut of him in casinos, like, sweating, and just, like, clearly we get the image. He's a degenerate gambler. Right?
Like a degenerate
Right,
gambler.
Exactly.
Like, he cannot control himself.
That's why they call him Four Fingers, because he got a finger cut off because of a bet and whatnot. So, yeah. All right. And then they jump from this character. Basically, a lot of this is just setting up the characters that we just saw a montage of to let you know what every person is involved in this. So then, and most of this is being narrated also by Turkish, Jason Statham's character. So then he starts talking about Doug the Head. Doug the Head is a diamond guy in London, and he is a legitimate diamond guy, but he also deals with illegal diamonds, right?
Sure,
and they have a funny little thing where he's like, he's a British dude, and he pretends he's Jewish. He wishes he was Jewish. Tells his family they're Jewish, but he's about as Jewish as he is a monkey, and he's wearing like a yarmulke and everything that. And very funny scene that with them. And he owns a little jewelry shop where his twins work and whatnot. And there's again a lot of small comedy and whatnot, a lot of sharp-witted comedy.
Yeah, it's real tiny moments of comedy.
Of course,
sure,
right.
yeah.
Like he's like
it's like this movie is playing itself seriously the whole time, but also making jokes
because it's a black comedy. So it's because there's little throwaway things with the twins where he's like, hey, did I tell you have to do this or whatever? One of them's like, yeah, Dad, you told us. And also you got to do this. And the other one, yeah, Dad, you told us. And you got to talk to Cousin Abby. Did I tell you about that? Yeah, Dad, you told us. You know, a lot of silly little things like that and whatnot. I personally love British comedy. It's my favorite.
For me, British comedy is very hit or miss. Sometimes I'm just like, yeah, this is good, this is great, and sometimes I'm just like, no, that didn't land
because it's sarcastic as fuck, and it's also like
that twin scene. Yeah, it didn't land for me.
Oh, I laughed,
and what that twin scene, I'm just like, ugh, this is gonna be a stupid ass movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean. So it cuts over to Boris, and Boris is selling a gun to Frankie Four Fingers at this point. He doesn't actually sell it to him. He wants to make a trade with him.
He gives it to him for free.
Right. He's going to give it to him for free. And, what do you want then? And he wants him to go place a bet in the bookies because he's not allowed in there. Yeah. So, but if he goes places his bet for him, he'll give him the gun for free. Sure. You know, and then we see another Viva Las Vegas thing.
The moment he says place a bet.
Exactly. So. We cut over to Tommy, George, head over to the Irish crew, the Pikeys.
Yeah.
And this is
the trailer park.
And now you know why we did this for St. Patrick's Day.
They're not Irish.
The Pikeys?
Yeah.
They absolutely are.
No, they're like Romani.
Why do they all talk Irish except for
they don't talk Irish.
They have an Irish accent.
They literally specifically said that it wasn't Irish, that it was just pikey.
All right. Edit all that out. So, all right. So, it was very insulting anyways. This is where we were introduced to Brad Pitt. He shows up. Some funny behind the scenes. So, you brought up how you should almost have subtitles on in this.
Well, especially for the Brad Pitt shit.
So, they literally made a DVD that had subtitles, and one of the options was Pikey. So, you could understand everything explained in normal English and whatnot. Yeah, so
I'm not gonna lie, dude. When I was watching this, I almost wanted to applaud Brad Pitt's performance.
Oh, for sure, man!
So good.
It was so ridiculous, bro.
It was so awesome. Like I bought it. I was like, that's a real person that exists.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Right. So. They make a deal for a camper and a dog that comes with it because every deal they do give a dog away as well.
Oh, and that's one of the lines from this that is in the pop culture that I had heard a lot.
What's that?
When because I've heard people say, "You like dogs?"
Yeah.
And I was just like, what the fuck is that from?
Right.
That's
I know. Absolutely.
Yeah,
sure. There's a lot to me in this movie throughout that I've quoted a ton, and I know a lot of other people quote a ton and whatnot. But that's because we all seen the movie, so obviously you're not going to quote if you don't know the fucking movie. So they get the camper and they start to roll away, and it's a piece of shit. And the back axle falls off, right? Yeah. And basically, it's just they were scammed by the Pikeys, and that's the thing is, they're very untrustworthy. I love how they're
just like, give us our money back. Like, why would we want to buy a
why do I want a fucking broken caravan? Right? Exactly. So, and basically, they're like Brad Pitt's character insinuates that they're there for trouble in the first place, and
exactly.
He's like, you don't bring a dude that big if you weren't ready for trouble and whatnot.
If you're not trying to say something, you're not trying to say
right. Exactly. You're not bringing this guy with you if you weren't trying to say something. And he's like, okay, I'll tell you what, I agree. We'll give you your money back if you fight me for it. Yeah. And they're gonna have George. George is like, he's a boxer, so they're like, yeah, all right, fuck this. And they start the fight, and of course, Mickey is getting his ass whooped. He's getting the shit beat out of him.
Yeah, for sure.
And he's not going down completely though. And George is.
I mean, I wouldn't say he's getting his ass whooped. This was a very Fight Club scene.
Well, right. He's getting knocked down constantly.
Knocked around.
Right, exactly.
But it's like he's unfazed. Like, he just keeps getting up like nothing is happening.
He keeps getting knocked down, and George is beating the shit out of him. I mean, he's bleeding and everything else.
Like, I think, to me, beating the shit out of somebody is like what happens later. Well, he's getting the shit beat out of him. And this one, it doesn't even look like he's phased. He's just getting knocked around for a while.
Well, I mean, like, he's clearly getting beat up by. You can call it what you want to. Okay. George is getting the better of him at this point, but he keeps getting back up, and that's the point. And George is
I think he's getting the better of him. That's why. Like, the only reason that I'm like saying
I'm not going to fight
you're characterizing this wrong.
I disagree.
He's just getting knocked around.
Yeah, he's getting knocked around. He's bleeding from his mouth. But like, to any normal person watching this, George is getting the better of him because like he's he hasn't laid a punch on George at this point. And
doesn't look like he's trying.
Well, right. He's kind of dancing around and whatnot. Sure. And George is just like, all right, fuck this. I'm done with this. Yeah. And Mickey's like, you don't leave until the fight's over with or whatever. Either you knock me out or you're not leaving or whatnot. And he's like, fine. And he tries to throw a punch and just gets one shot by Mickey. Knocked the fuck out.
I love how they show him later and he's got like...
Just his eyes are open, right?
No. Later in the movie, they show him
he's got
trying
the
to
thing.
eat, and he's got he's like a jaw.
Right, he's got his jaw knocked the fuck out. So
fucking great.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny scene, and then there's a whole thing where they're discussing what to do with him because if George doesn't wake up, basically they're gonna have to kill Tommy too and bury both of them out here.
Yeah.
So then we jump from that crew over to the black crew. We're introduced to them. This is Saul, Vinny, and Tyrone. Mm-hmm. And they are they basically get the
pawn
job.
Shop, right?
Yeah, he owns Saul owns the pawn shop. Mm-hmm. And Boris wants them, he's going to hire them to be the people who rob Frankie Four Fingers. And everything for like the next 5 minutes makes me laugh out loud. Like I love every single thing because, okay, so we're introduced to Tyrone by... they have to go for a ride with him somewhere, and he has a stolen car, and Vinny hasn't met Tyrone yet. And he's like, basically Saul's like, I have a getaway driver for us. And then Tyrone shows up and he's gigantic dude. And Vinny's like, oi, I thought you said he was a getaway driver. The fuck is he going to get away from? Right? Again.
Because he's struggling to get out of the car.
He can't do that. He can't get out of his fucking car and shit. So they go to the bookies because they have their job. They're supposed to rob a man with 4 fingers or whatnot. He's going to be carrying a case. That's what Boris kind of informs them of. They're going to rob him. And he's going to pay them like 10,000 pounds, and they're just going to give him the case, and that's kind of the exchange here or whatever. And they pull up.
No, they get to keep everything they rob.
Yes, yeah.
Like
that's
all
right.
of the bookies' money.
That's right. Yep.
They get 10,000.
Right. Well, what happens is they're going to keep everything from the bookie job, but he's getting the briefcase from this one. Okay,
and
which is kind of a shitty.
The bookie and 10 grand.
You're right. You're right. Yep.
And he just gets to keep the case.
Exactly right, and that's a trade off. And this next scene, I didn't even have to rewatch to remember it by heart. Because Tyrone pulls up and he kind of in the middle of the road, and Saul's like, what's wrong with that spot over there? And he's like, it's too tight. And they like and it's just gigantically open. He's like, too tight? You could fit a 2-ton jumbo jet over that motherfucker. And so he's like, you stop bothering me or whatever, you bother me. And so Saul's like, don't bother him. He's a natural. And he backs up and smashes right into the fucking van on his way. A natural fucking idiot, right? And they hit the van, and then they have a funny conversation where he doesn't understand which way the van was coming from, and he's like, "You were fucking backing up. When you back up, things come from behind you." And they happen to back up into Frankie Four Fingers' van, though. That's who they've hit and or whatnot. So they get right, and then when they back into the van, Frankie Four Fingers goes flying or whatnot and hits his head and gets knocked out. So they wait out there for a while, and then they see a guy with a briefcase go into the bookies. We jump over to Turkish and Tommy is informing Turkish of what's going on. And the problem that they have right now is that George was supposed to be in a boxing match for Bricktop, and George is knocked the fuck out, so he cannot fight at all.
And Bricktop is not the kind of guy who likes things changed.
Right. And more importantly,
like he kills people pretty constantly and feeds them to pigs.
Right.
So they're like, okay,
one of the intro scenes with Big Bricktop is like he's getting information from a guy who kind of fucked him a little bit, and he kills that guy who fucked him a little bit, and then he's proud of the guy who brought him the information that fucked him, but that guy's a weasel too, so he kills that guy as well, right?
So when Jason Statham is going to go tell him that he can't, produce the same boxer, he's just like, God, I hope I don't fucking die.
Yeah, he's like, basically what
they feel way in over their own heads the whole time.
They are at this point. And the thing is, one of two things is going to happen. Either they're fucked and they're dead, or at best situation, they're now in Bricktop's pocket. Like they owe Bricktop at this point, and that is not a place where you want to be at, because he even mentions
because
never
before, when it was just we're bringing a boxer, he didn't have to go down in the fourth. He was just like, we're bringing a boxer.
Yep, exactly.
But now Bricktop can start making some,
Well, importantly, they're like, okay, we're going to, Turkish and Tommy come up with the idea, hey, we'll use the pikey for this situation, okay? And they're now, they go to Bricktop to explain this, and Bricktop's like, it has a quote I use all the fucking time when he first talks to him, because he's like, we lost George, and he says, in the words of the Virgin Mary, come again. I use that quote all the fucking time. It cracks me up.
Yeah.
So they make a deal with Bricktop that they're going to have the Pikey fight in the place of George. Now, they think that this is just perfectly fine. The problem the Bricktop has is that all the bets that they were going to do are fucked, because all the bets have been based on George fighting against this other guy. Yeah. So all of that's washed, and they basically have to refund anybody their fucking money. So he goes, okay, the only way we're going to be able to do this from Bricktop's point of view is if we throw the fight. Mm-hmm. So he gives him the Turkish idea. All right, not the idea. He orders him. Your guy goes down in the fourth, and as long as that happens, everything's going to be. They'll be able to make
fine.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll be able to make this all work, and shit's going to go okay. So they're all ready to rock. No problem. Evie talks to Doug at this point. He gives Doug a call. He finds out about a boxing match, and he hears that from Doug that Frankie Four Fingers was said to be going to this boxing match, and Evie
immediately
he goes. He asks, "Is there gambling at the boxing match?" And Doug's like, "It's a boxing match. Of course there is." Next scene, you see him taking the passport, flying to London, landing in London, and he's like talking to Doug about being in London and whatnot. And he says, "Well, I should be
literally within 20 seconds. He's in that office.
He's in that office, right?" And he's like, I shouldn't be in fucking London. I should be on a nice fucking beach. We have sandy beaches. Well, who the fuck wants to see them? Right? All right, so then they're going to go to the boxing match because they need to find Frankie Four Fingers that's supposed to be there. And there's a little, again, I love sarcasm. Like, I'm a big fan of sarcastic shit. So, like, he takes him around the back, and he's just, like, going in the bag. He's like, hey, this is the back way. Oh, really? I thought this was the front way. And then they keep getting asked for different things. And at the last one, Abby's just like, are we ever going to get in this fucking place? And he's like, it's not exactly legal. Well, I'm not looking for legal. I'm looking for Frankie fucking Four Fingers. And that's when he kind of explains how bad Frankie is. He's like, that's the whole reason he's called Frankie Four Fingers, because he lost a finger because, shitty gambling and whatnot. So at this point, we jump back to the Black Crew. Yeah. The Black Crew goes to rob the bookies because they see a guy going in with a briefcase. Yeah. They go in and they hold up the cashier and whatnot. Yeah. And
the teller or whatever.
The teller's like, do you know who owns this place? And they're like, I don't give a fuck who owns this place. Yeah. And then she locks him into the building, shuts everything down. Vinny is caught in the thing that slides up, across the window. Saul blasts through the door and aims the shotgun at her, so she drops everything. And he's like, give me all the fucking money. And all bets are off.
Yeah, she's like, all bets are off.
All bets are off. And he's like, I'm not here to make a fucking bet or not. And he's like, I can appreciate that. But all bets are off. So we can't have any fucking money, Like, you don't have anything. We have a thing of change or whatever. Hands on a bag of change, right? And
gives him a bag of change.
And so they see the guy on the ground, and they're like, show me your fucking hands. He's got 5 fingers. It's not him or whatever. So,
and then she steals the fucking shotgun.
And relocks down everything. And they're like, fuck. And they try to run out, and then the door's locked. They can't get out of the door and whatnot. So they're like, we're fucked at this point. So they kind of give up. They're locked in the thing. They're not locked in the thing. They were trying to push the door the wrong way. Tyrone just opens the door, and they come running out of there or whatnot. And they jump into the car. Tyrone starts to pull off. You're right. Sees Frankie Four Fingers, goes, knocks him out, throws him into the car with them. Yeah. And so basically, Tyrone solves everything. Yeah. Like, he's the hero fucking everything in this situation. So, and then they drive away with Frankie Four Fingers. We flip over to the boxing fight. Mickey they're about to fight. He tells him, hey, you got to go down in the fourth. Boxer comes in to try to hit Mickey. Mickey one-shots this fucking boxer. And it's not even like, I don't even think he meant to do it. He hits him one time, and the guy just gets knocked out, and he's just like, what the fuck do you want me to do?
Because he seems fine with getting knocked down in the fourth.
Yeah.
But he just says as long as he can make it to the fourth.
Right, yeah, exactly.
And then immediately as the fight starts,
one shot,
knocks him out.
And And that's not good for the situation, obviously.
When that happened,
right.
I busted out laughing because of how it's shot.
Right.
Because it's just like,
focuses on Bricktop's face, focuses on their face.
When it zooms into all of their faces, I was just really well shot. I love
Exactly. Exactly. So we could jump from there back over to the pawn shop. Boris shows up to pick up Frankie, and of course there's problems with that situation, and they start to argue about what they're getting paid. They're
because at that point they didn't get any money from the books.
Right.
2, they've opened up the briefcase and saw the diamond.
Yeah, so that was the thing is they weren't supposed to open up the briefcase, but they're pissed because they didn't get anything from the bookies. I'm guessing the behind the scenes is they're like, what the fuck were we robbing for in the first place or whatnot, you know?
So they open because
everything's been going wrong right here for them. So, because importantly, they don't even get the change bag because the change bag gets shot and poured all over the fucking place. Boris is there and they start arguing over the thing, and because he's gonna give them the 10 grand, and but they're like, no, fuck that. We want half of this diamond or whatever. We'll do it for half this diamond. And they're arguing back and forth, and they're kind of like trying to like work something out. And then they say Boris, right? And then they go into the back to like sit down, and then Boris kills Frankie at that point. And he's like, you stupid fucks. They couldn't know my name or whatever. That was the whole point of why he hired them in the first place. So, then
he's just like, okay, give me the diamond. And well, the diamond's in the case.
Yes. And the only person that had the combination for that, you just shot him in the head. So he pulls out a butcher's knife he has a fucking thing on his belt for a butcher's knife. Yeah. Pulls out the butcher's knife and cuts the arm off. We flip over to the boxing fight again. And Turkish, they get out of the boxing fight, and Turkish starts talking about how he's got to get out of town. He's got to get away.
So he leaves immediately.
Yes.
Goes to the arcade.
Yes.
He's going to go get a bunch of money and just going to get the fuck out.
Right. And he goes to get his safe or whatever, and then he's walking around, and then one of Bricktop's guys says something, and he turns around and both of them there, and he tries to get aggressive or whatever, and
Bricktop's there.
They're going to beat his ass, or they stand up, and then he walks into Bricktop or whatever, you know, exactly. And they kind of have a fun little conversation.
You put some tea on.
Yeah, he's like, put the tea on the cattle or whatever. You take sugar, Bricktop? No, Turkish. I'm sweet enough. So then we go back over to the black crew again. Boris is like, okay, you're going to deal with this body. I don't give a fuck. If you motherfuckers ever come after me, you know what's going to happen. Well, look at him. I think he even says that. And he gives them the 10 grand basically, and because that was their part, and but they are left with the body. They have to take care of Frankie Four Fingers. So, I mean, at least he gave them the 10 grand or whatever, right? Like, we flip back over to Bricktop, and they make a new deal with Turkish, and they're like, I want to use the pikey again in another fight. And
now Bricktop is saying, okay, this can be water under the bridge.
Right.
But I'm going to use that guy again.
Yes, exactly. Like, you still owe me one here, but if you take care of this, we'll basically do it. And he's also taking the money that, because the situation that he already set up, I'm going to guess cost Bricktop thousands of pounds already because he got fucked. And they even kind of make mention of that when he's walking out of the boxing ring. A couple guys stop him that clearly... they have quite a bit of power because they're able to talk shit to Bricktop or whatever, and he's like, yeah, no, I'll make it up to you or whatever, right? Yeah, and that. So
maybe and then he cuts that one guy's balls off,
right? Because that was just some random dude. So okay, I know this is like side thing, and I thought of you when I saw this scene, okay? Because I think about some of our Marvel conversations,
okay,
and how you need you want every character to have their story and whatnot.
I don't need that,
or you like it because you like Johnny Woo showing back up, and you like Darcy showing back up. I know this is kind of convoluted, but I'm going to get there. So this is how I love storytelling, because in this scene right here, you understand exactly who these dudes are by how he treats the other guy. He treats these two dudes with respect, like, I'm sorry, I'm going to make it up to you. Yeah. So you kind of get the gist that these guys are either like a politician maybe, or they're other mob bosses.
Or like higher up mob bosses.
Right, exactly. Yeah, something like, I don't even know if they're other higher up, but other family bosses. Like kind of like how we had here, with the Italian families.
Well, he almost seemed apologetic.
Right, that's why I would think it might be a politician or something like that. Yeah. Because if you're a mob boss, I would think you would expect, equal.
But he could just be like a small time mob boss.
Yeah, like he's like a capo or something. Like Bricktop's a capo, and these guys are like family bosses or something like that. I don't want to completely, because I don't know how the British mafia breaks down. I kind of know how the Italian mafia breaks down only because of my
because of your association with them.
I can neither confirm or deny that I was part of a family.
That Rico case is still real, bro. You gotta watch out.
I can neither confirm or deny that I'm under Rico. So, anyways, but I love that type of storytelling because it's fast, furious, and they just kind of they give you a hint on what these guys exactly are without having to explain what these fucking guys are or anything of that nature. So, as they're leaving Turkish's place, he talks to the those two guys, the bigger guys, and he's like, "Hey, I want to know who the fuck robbed my bookies. You know, go find out who that was." And at the same time, Tommy and Turkish are going to go talk to the Pikey about fighting in another fight. Okay, so you kind of get this really cool montage that I like at this point because Tommy and Turkish go out. They talk to Brad Pitt's character, Mickey, and they're like, "Hey, we need you to fight again or whatever." And and he's like, "Yeah, I'll fight again. I want a caravan." And Turkish is like. Tommy's like, what the fuck? We wanted a caravan from you? Oh, okay, right. It's just comical or whatever. And he's like, all right, fine. Fuck it. I'll tell you what. I'll take care of I'll do the fight for you. We'll bet on it, basically. And if you lose, you owe me a caravan. If not, I'll do the fight for free at this point in time. So, they're like, okay, what are we going to bet? And they're like, we'll bet the hare and the, proper fuck that the hare is going to get killed by the dogs that they have. So, and there's a lot of callback jokes and stuff like that in this scene. And so they take the dogs, that the dogs are going to get the hair, and they run off. And at the same time, you have these two montages going on, and the two guys that work for Bricktop figure out, they don't know who the two black guys are. They're like, who the fuck is it? Yeah. And then they see Tyrone walk in, and they're like, Tyrone, you fat bastard. So now they know. Yeah. So then you get a scene of like the dog chasing the hare, trying to get them, and they're chasing Tyrone kind of at the same time or whatever. Yeah. And the hare gets away. Tyrone does not get away. So Turkish and Tommy are completely fucked. And they keep, like you point out, they keep getting deeper in the fuck. Because basically what I would compare it to is like someone who placed a bet and they're losing, and they just keep doubling down over and over to try to get even. Yeah, right, exactly, like that. So after we see that scene, they capture Tyrone. They threaten him with the dogs. He clearly gives them the information because the next scene we see, the guys are breaking into the pawn shop, and Bricktop says to his guys, "Hey, go get a coffee." And I love this whole like thing because he's like, "Just go get a coffee or go get a tea for us or whatever." And then Bricktop comes walking into the bag, and they're like trying to figure out how they're gonna like deal with Ferengi Four Fingers. And he walks in, he's just like, did I come at a bad time? Or whatever, because like they're trying to figure out what to do with this dead body. And he comes in and he's like, hey, do you know who I am? And the one guy, the albino black dude, is like, I know who you are or whatever. And he goes into this whole conversation then at this point.
Yeah, he explained to them how pigs eat.
Right. He explains how a pig farm works and how you dispose of a body, more importantly. And he's like, so just be wary of anyone who owns a lot of pigs and whatnot. So, and they're like, and then Vinny kind of just snaps out and he's like, hey, so who the fuck are you besides somebody who owns a bunch of fucking pigs or whatever, right? And he still doesn't really answer him and whatnot, or he gives a diatribe about it being a nemesis and whatnot. And he says, all right, come on, guys, let's go or whatever. And then they go out into the front, and Tyrone is like in a bag. They have the whole thing like ready to chop up some fucking bodies at this point. So
he's about to kill all of them.
Right. They're going to kill all four of those, the people for robbing his bookies. We're introduced to Bullet Tooth Tony at this point because
that story is hysterical, by the way.
Yes.
Bullet Tooth Tony, when they're showing the guy
how he got his name, Bullet Tooth Tony.
Yeah. Where he's shooting him, he shoots him 6 times.
Yeah.
I don't know what, but the performance in that scene was just very well done. I laughed so hard when it was happening.
Yeah, it's a fun scene, that's for sure.
Watching him get shot over and over again was so funny.
Right, absolutely. And so basically they can't find Frankie Four Fingers, and they are going to hire Bullet Tooth Tony because Doug the Head suggests Bullet Tooth Tony can get anything done, and he's like a one-man wrecking crew. So they bring him into the office and they offer him 40,000 pounds to find Frankie Four Fingers. So he's all about that shit. At this point, Bullet Tooth Tony, Avi, and some dude he's basically like Avi's bodyguard from the U.S. go find Frankie Four Fingers or try to find somebody who might have known about it. And they know that Frankie Four Fingers was supposed to go place a bet at the bookies that night before, but the bookies were robbed. So they figured that there's a chance.
Who robbed the bookies.
Exactly. That the person who robbed the bookies also grabbed Frankie Four Fingers. So he goes to find an informant that he knows, and he grabs the dude and like puts his head in the window and starts driving down the street. He's like, "You're going to tell me something." And the guy's like, "I don't know anything," or whatever. He's like, "All right, well, let's go for a roll," or whatever. And he drives down the street with him, and he's like, "Tony, what the fuck are you doing? Driving down the street with your head stuck in my car. What the fuck do you think I'm doing?" So he eventually gets some information that he knows that he thinks he knows who did it, because there's kind of word on the street who robbed Bricktop's place and whatnot. So funny side note here, he asks Evie to put on some music, puts on music. Madonna's Lucky Star starts playing. He's like, "Oh, this is I love this track," or whatever, right? You know, which the inside joke about that is Guy Ritchie was married to Madonna.
Oh, interesting.
So, yeah, and they had a kid together. And technically, I don't think they were married when he made this, but they already had a kid together, and then they got married. I think they got married right after this came out. Funny behind the scenes thing of this still, he still had to pay $1 million to be able to use this song in the movie.
I mean, licensing agreements are
yes, exactly. Right. And I thought about
that's not Madonna's music.
Exactly. I thought about it for a second. I was like, that's ridiculous. Why didn't Madonna just be like, "You can use my fucking music"? Because she doesn't own that music. Fucking whatever, Universal or whoever the fuck was her.
The masters are owned by someone else.
Exactly. And she probably got a payday of like $250,000 using that or whatever. So, fuck it, right? It only costs half that. So, Turkish tells Bricktop about the situation with Mickey, and he's like, "Look, man, this is fucked. He is not going to fight, and we don't really have a situation where we can get him to fight." And Bricktop's like, "Well, you're not very useful to me alive, are you?" And so you get like a little bit of a montage thing here where Bricktop wants to do something about the situation. He still needs to use the pikey, so he sends his guys to bust the fuck out of Turkish's place, and at the same time he blazes up Mickey's caravan, and Mickey's mom is in the caravan at the time.
And everything that he's done so far has been, like kind of either with his mom's permission or for his mom. They obviously have a really close relationship.
Right. In fact, that's why he wanted the caravan in the first place, because he has a perfectly fine caravan, and they're like, "What do you need a caravan? You have this fucking one." And he wants it for his mom, not for himself. And his mom's caravan's a little.
And his mom had yelled at them, like, "Don't get my son into any trouble."
Right. Yeah.
So like when the mom's trailer goes up and she's in it, and Mickey's kind of like trying to go in, and everybody's holding him back.
Yeah.
That seemed really hurt.
Yeah, of course, man.
But the reason I pointed out is because so far a lot of tragic shit has happened.
Yeah.
In the sense that a lot of people have died.
Yeah.
And all of it is framed hysterically.
Yeah.
But in this scene, somebody dies, and like this wasn't funny,
Well, I don't think it's supposed to be.
No.
Right?
And it's obviously it's not supposed to be. But what I'm saying is, they have made everyone out to be a joke so far, and yet they were all endearing to the point where I cared.
This to me,
when he was like really sad trying to get into that, I was just like, "Oh fuck, man," like that hurt.
This to me, because like this is a little bit. This is in a similar time period. Film wise, this to me reminds me a lot of the scene from Goodfellas where Billy Batts is murdered. Mm-hmm. Okay, because things drastically change in the movie from that half to the second half, and I feel the same way with this movie. There's still jokes throughout, but the jokes in the first half are a lot more numerous than the jokes in the second half, because now we're getting into much more heavier situations and whatnot.
Yeah,
so
it's ramping up.
And more importantly, like everybody, like you point out, there's been a lot of people killed and stuff like that, but everybody who's been killed before has been a criminal. Like they've been part of this crime situation and whatnot, and now this is the first time that really like just an innocent person that happened to be, Mickey's mom is part of the dead bodies. So.
I really liked how they made you care about a relationship without even realizing that was like more than a joke.
Yeah.
And then when they killed off that character, I was just like, oh shit, that hurt.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. No, I feel you, man. And it's at the same time, and importantly, in the same montage, they're fucking like Turkish is finally paying a real price for the situation, because he's gonna basically probably get killed in this scene, and the only reason he's not killed is because Tommy shows up with his gun. Yeah, exactly. Sure, so. Important scene that we missed.
I loved how
when we're driving away from the Pikeys, Tommy and Turkish kind of get into it, and he's like, "Why don't you bust a cap in his ass or whatever?" And Tommy's like, "Are you trying to say I can't shoot?" No, I know you can't shoot. I'm saying that fucking gun would be more dangerous if you fed it to him or whatnot. Yeah. And I love this is another scene that I love because so they do the whole scene where he tries to fire the gun and the gun doesn't fire, and he's like,
turns out there was no
oops, right. He says the same
no bullets in it. Yeah.
Right. So no, it doesn't work. So basically, in essence, the firing pin doesn't work. At minimum, there's no firing pin because there's nothing that's hitting the bullets that's making them fire. So
when Tommy walks into the arcade, and he bluffs, I thought that was a great bluff.
Of course, because it works, right? Yeah, exactly, because he's still got the thing. So.
And it's just Tommy doesn't seem like he kind of seems like a shit eater character
until
that moment,
right? In
that moment, he really
he saves Turkish, exactly, right? So, and that's an important scene and whatnot. And it's just the whole thing with the thing I loved about the fake gun scene when they figure out it's fake is as he clicks it. Turkish is like, oops, he knew that it was going to be a shit gun because he knows Boris, and that's the whole thing. We don't need anything other than him just knowing Boris. So he knows Boris is not on the level. So at this point, Mickey agrees to do the fight for Bricktop because he's like, I'm just going to do the fight because you've done enough damage and I don't want any more damage being done. So we're just going to get this fucking over with. So Evie, Doug, and Bullet Tooth Tony are all in the office again, and they're talking about Boris, and they're like, look, dude, we have got a real problem here because we know Boris is the one who robbed Frankie. And the issue that we have is Boris is like ex-KGB. He's a crazy motherfucker. He's been a spy most of his life. There's no way we're going to be able to find him because he blends in anywhere we go. And they get a buzz from the twins that somebody's there to sell a diamond. And who is it? Of course, it's fucking Boris. So
he walks in and they immediately whoop his ass.
Well, more importantly, they're like, how are we going to take care of this? Oh, it's the fucking four of us. We'll easily be able to take care of this. And the next scene, they're in Bullet Tooth Tony's car, and the guy in the back is all fucked up.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
Exactly. So things did not go as well as they expected them to go. So
all of them are fucked up, too. All three of them are fucked up.
Right, exactly. So we see them trying to take care of that, and we see the black guys get new guns of sorts. Replica guns. So, right, exactly. So Tyrone is sent to go try to find. He's like, go look outside of Boris's house. When Boris shows up, give us a call. So while they're sitting there talking shit and blah, 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 Tyrone calls him, tells him, hey, he's here. And they're like, all right, we're on our way. And they hang up before they can say what else is going on. Because what's actually going on is Bullet Tooth Tony and that crew show up because they're going to get the diamond from Boris's house. So we cut into Boris's house. They open up the little safe area, and Evie finally gets his fucking stone from that area. So the black crew shows up to try to get the stone from him. Tommy and Turkish head over to Boris's place to get a new gun because they want a real one at this point. And he's getting tough. He's ready to fucking bring it to Boris. And Boris shows up. Tommy tries to get tough with him. He just grabs him by the fucking nuts and carries him to the house and goes in. And Turkish says something about him doing a good job. And he comes back out with an AK and a fucking grenade launcher attached to the fucking AK. So shit is about to go down.
So these next couple of scenes were a little weird because they do them out of sequential order.
Yes. Here, the first scene we see is the black guys shooting because he's kind of teasing him how the replicas do nothing.
Yeah.
And we're going to fucking deafen them or whatever. Saul tries to shoot one in the car and blows out all the fucking windows.
Yeah.
They smash into a guy.
Yeah.
Who do they smash into, though?
Boris.
Right. Because we cut to a different scene where Turkish throws milk out the window.
Yeah.
Or, I'm sorry, Tommy throws Turkish's milk out the window, which happens to hit Bullet Tooth Tony's Jaguar.
Yeah.
So he crashes into a fire hydrant.
Yeah.
Who then Boris comes out of the fire, out of the trunk, and he gets hit by the black guy. So it's a funny, just little mashup of scenes here. So
then Boris walks home, grabs his gun, comes back.
Yeah, but here's the important part. So after they get in the crashes, Bullet Tooth Tony and Evie go into the pub because they're just going to fucking call somebody and get someone to come pick them up because the car is destroyed at this point. Okay.
Yeah. But it doesn't matter. Boris is gone. They've got the diamond. It doesn't fucking matter.
It doesn't fucking matter. Who gives a fuck? So Boris...
Evie goes to the bathroom.
Yeah, Evie goes to the bathroom. The black guys saw Bullet Tooth Tony and Evie go into the pub. Yeah. So they're going to go get the diamond from Bullet Tooth Tony. At this point, this is when Turkish and Tommy show up at Boris's house, and they want a new gun from Boris.
Yeah.
Boris shows up, grabs Tommy by the nuts, drags him all the way to the house, and departs his house with an AK and a grenade launcher attached to it. So we cut over to the pub at this point. The black guys walk in and they try to rob Bullet Tooth. They try to get information from Bullet Tooth Tony, and he's not having any of it. He doesn't give a fuck about this situation, and he's just straight talking shit to him and whatnot. And they're like, just shoot him or whatever. And he's like, well, you're the big tough guy, aren't you? Basically, you know.
I love that this little like speech that he gives is hysterical.
Right, exactly. Really, and I'm not giving it justice because I don't speak British English. I'm just, you know.
He's just talking about how he's like,
you're tough. You're the tough one, and you two are his nuts that help him get hard or whatever.
He's the big dick,
right?
And the other guys are his little nuts.
And you're here to fuck a pussy, but unfortunately, you're not going to find any pussy here. Just something that makes you wish you were born a woman. And he's like. And importantly, when he first put the gun in the face of him, he grabs his arm and he looks at the gun, and the other guy, Saul, puts a gun in his face and he's like, let him go right now or whatever. I'll fucking blow your head off or whatnot. And that's when he pinpoints that he's the tough guy or whatever, right? And it's just a funny thing because this is, again, so many funny things, is that he's getting robbed and he's like, who are you? He's like trying to like figure out who the guy is or whatnot. So, and then he gives a speech about the nuts, and then he's like, and more importantly, the fact that your gun has replica written down the side of it, and my gun has Desert Eagle .50 written down the side of it. Well, pretend you're gonna shrink into your fucking little ball sack again and walk away. And so they kind of crumble from that situation. And that, again, that's a very signature Guy Ritchie thing, because as he's saying replica, it shows you like the replica, and then you know, on the guns.
I laughed a lot.
Right, exactly. So they leave. They're like fucking pissed now, and they go into the back room to figure out what they're going to do at this point, because
they're semi-leaving.
Right, and as they go into the back room, Evie comes out of the washroom with the briefcase that they know has the diamond in it because they dealt with the Frankie Four Fingers earlier. So they're like, give us the fucking case or whatever. We're gonna fucking blast you. And Evie's just like, fuck you, shoot me or whatever. Go ahead, shoot me. I'm fucking done with this. As they're doing this, Boris comes walking in the other exit, and he's like, give me the fucking case. Fuck you, you shoot me or whatever, right? And Bullet Tooth Tony hears what's kind of going on at this point in time. So he walks over to the side, and they're kind of fighting back and forth. And I think at this point, it doesn't Saul like, he's like, what are you doing here? And, Boris, what the fuck are you doing here or not? And
Tony's is like,
hey,
tie your shoe
Abby, Abby, pull your socks up or whatever. And then just boom, 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 and shoots. And he just happens to only hit Boris in the shot. At this point, the black guys, they grab the case and they run out the back door.
They leave Tyrone, though.
Right. They leave Tyrone behind. Bullet Tooth Tony comes in and he's like, where's the fucking case or whatever? And Boris is like, fuck you. And he shoots him like 2 more times. And there's a funny scene where he just has to keep shooting Boris over and over.
He's like a bullet dodger. Like,
right.
He also is not.
Yeah. Importantly, earlier, there's a funny scene where he's like, when they find out who took the diamond from the black guys, they're like, Boris. And Bullet Tooth Tony is like, Boris the bullet dodger? Yeah. Why do they call him the bullet dodger? Because he dodges bullets. You know? And so he eventually, like, I think he shoots him like 9 times, right?
He empties that entire magazine.
Yeah, and eventually he aims one at him, and Tyrone won't answer him either, so he's going to shoot Tyrone, and he's out of bullets at that point, so he can't shoot Tyrone. So
how many times he had to shoot Boris was hysterical.
Right. That's the joke of the scene, obviously, and whatnot. So
it really landed.
It cuts over to Tommy and Turkish, and they're playing cards with George. And this is what you were talking about earlier, where his jaw's all sewed the fuck up. And Tommy's like freaking out at this point, and Turkish is just like, "Yep, we're fucking dead. And if this goes, we're fucking dead. And if this happens, we're fucking dead." And Tommy's like, dude, you seem very calm. He's like, what the fuck do you want me to do at this point? We're fucking dead. Like, there's nothing we can do in this situation. We can't control the pikey. You show me how to control a pikey, and I'll show you how to control an out-of-control mobster or whatever. He says some shit to that nature. So we cut over to the black crew. They're sitting outside of their fucking store. Bullet Tooth Tony walks up to the car, and he's like, never underestimate the power of stupidity. He's like, and he knocks on the car with Desert Eagle. Out of the car, boys. Leave the replicas behind. So they cut to those guys go into the store. Things get a little wild because basically they tell Evie that the dog ate the diamond. He's like, give me the fucking diamond. He's like, I'm sorry, the dog ate the diamond. All right, Tony, open it up. What do you mean? Kill the dog and open it up and get the diamond back or whatever. He's like, that's a little rough. And they're
He's
trying to
literally gonna rip like
right.
kill the dog.
He pulls out a huge knife.
For sure, yeah.
And so they go to, he's gonna go kill the dog. He grabs the dog and Vinny stops him. He's like, what? Just fucking wait or whatever, right? And he pulls out the diamond from his crotch and hands it to Evie. And Evie now has the diamond. And he's holding Tony's Desert Eagle as well at this point. And so he's looking at the diamond, and he's sitting there. The dog starts to go crazy, starts biting on things, grabs the diamond from him,
jumps out the window,
swallows the diamond, jumps out of the fucking window. Evie tries to start shooting at the fucking dog, just letting loose Desert Eagle shots at this fucking dog. And he's like, the fucking dog got away. Come on, let's go.
Yeah.
Tony.
Kill Tony.
Tony, right. Yeah, Tony's dead from this. Cut from this scene to Evie. Now, the exact reverse scene of him showing up in London, heading back to America.
He's just done.
Right, he's done with talking shit at this point. Anything to declare? Yeah, don't go to fucking London. So it goes from this, we cut over to the boxing match now. Bricktop's crew is at the Pikey camp to make sure everything goes well, and Bricktop talks to Turkish and Tommy and the Pikey's just completely smashed, and he's like, hey, you need to fucking get your shit together, or there's a lot of people in your camp that aren't going to find it very funny or whatnot. So we go to the fight, and things are going very well at this point. Well, first, we should point out, he hits the guy very softly.
Immediately lets loose one.
Right, one. Yeah. Guy gets knocked down, and it's like, same kind of shot, like, oh, fuck, right? Like, this is unbelievable that this would happen again. And but then the guy gets back up, and then they fight, and it goes on.
Now it's like a real, he's getting the shit knocked out of him.
Like Mickey is hitting him, but he's not hitting him in the face, and he gets a bunch of body blows in on him and stuff like that.
And this other guy is whooping his ass.
He's fighting him down, he's beating his ass pretty good. But it's clear that Mickey's kind of holding back and shit like that. And so he gets his ass whooped into the fourth round. Everything's going well, and they're like, all right, you got it. Fucking just get hit once, fall down, and we're good to fucking go. And everything is fucking solved. And they start fighting again, and he hits Mickey like a bunch of fucking time. One uppercut.
That uppercut scene was filmed really cool.
Just taken off of his feet, basically.
Yeah. Like he was literally like
floating,
horizontal for a second.
Exactly. And there's kind of like a cut of him like smashing into water from that scene.
Yeah.
And fucking brilliant. They finally figured it out. He's laying there, and he's done, and it's over with, and they won, and they're even with Bricktop.
Yes.
And Mickey gets up and one-shots the fuck out of the guy.
Yeah.
So everybody's going crazy at this point, and everybody starts fighting in the crowd and shit like that, because people are pretty pissed the fuck off at this point. So Tommy, Mickey, and Turkish, they try to sneak out the back way.
Yeah.
Bricktop cuts him off. Give me the fucking shooter or whatever. And then you see
roll down the window.
The three of them, right. Yeah. And then the gunshots fire off, and then they get this really funny scene of like Turkish and Tommy like, right, you know. And he notes that Mickey, like, no action whatsoever. And then he starts to remember that Mickey really took that fucking death of his mom a lot better than he was.
Chill about it.
Right, exactly. So then you get another one of these reverse scenes, basically, and then it shows the Pikeys just annihilating the dudes that were in the van. At the same time, Bricktop is trying to call somebody over there because he's trying to order the them to kill the Pikeys.
Yeah.
But he heard a gunshot. We don't really see what it was that was. And we see the other side of that at this point. Sure. And then they were also in the Jaguar, and they blow the fuck out of Bricktop and his partner that were down there. So, everything kind of ends well at that point because Bricktop's done, his whole crew is done, and Turkish and Tommy are kind of in the blue, and the Pikeys and Mickey just take the fuck off at this point. Yeah. So we cut over to Tommy and Turkish now, and pretty much the rest of this is
because they go to the campsite.
So the black guys are talking after Evie leaves, and they're like, let's go to the campsite because the dog will definitely be at that campsite. He always goes back to that campsite. Also, Tommy and Turkish kind of want to see what happened with the Pikeys and whatnot after everything that went down. They see that the campsite's completely abandoned, of course, because they all live in caravans. They can just take the fuck off, right? And as they're there, a guy comes walking up to him, and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" or whatever. And they're like, "What the fuck is it to you?" or whatever, right? And then he pulls out a badge, and of course he's the cop. This is the first time we've dealt with the cops at all in this crime movie,
I didn't even think that cops existed in this universe.
Exactly. So they're like, "Well, what are you doing here?" or whatever. And then they hear a dog bark, and they're like, "Oh, we're here to, we were walking our dog," or whatever, right? And there's like a kind of a funny scene. They're like, "All right, well," they're like, "What's in the trunk?" or whatever, in the car seats or whatever, and they look in the trunk, nothing's in there, because, I mean, Tommy and Turkish haven't really had much to do with any of this shit, right? So they're like, "All right, get your dog, get the fuck out of here," or whatever. So they have this funny scene where like Turkish is like, he's like trying to get the dog or whatever into the car. They eventually get the dog in the car, and they're rolling out. As they're rolling out, they see Saul and Vinny. They're pulled over by those same cops there, and they happen to have the body in their trunk. Right, body is in the trunk still. So because they were gonna try to find the dog and dump the body of Frankie Four Fingers, clearly. And then it pretty much, that's kind of the end of the movie. They're like, all right.
Well, then they talk about how,
and they're like, yes. And so it kind of ends with that, and then it kind of fades to black, and then, but again, Tommy and Turkish, they don't know anything about diamonds, so they go to see someone about the diamond. Anyone you might know that'd be interested in it. Guy turns around, and it's Doug the Head, of course. So, and that's the end of the film. All right, let's get into some behind the scenes, because there's a few funny things. Brad Pitt, he played the Pikey. Okay, so Brad Pitt was a big fan of Guy Ritchie's first movie, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. So he actually approached Guy Ritchie saying, "Hey, I want to be in your movie." So Guy Ritchie's like, "Of course, why the fuck wouldn't I want Brad Pitt to be in my movie?" And this is a reason I actually like Brad Pitt a lot, because the dude does a lot of films for less money than he could possibly make, because he wants to be in certain productions and shit like that. And that's actually how he's done a bunch of his roles that I actually quite enjoy throughout time. So he was originally going to be Turk, Jason Statham's character. He could not do a British accent. They kept trying to get him to do a British accent. He could not pull it off. But they created this Pikey role for him or whatever, so then he ended up being the Pikey instead, because he could do that. And they kind of went into like how he studied all these different languages to kind of smash them together to create that exact language, and just kind of fucking nailed it, man. The dog, okay. The dog was a complete fucking asshole throughout this movie. The dog that swallowed the diamond. He kept biting people outside and shit like that. For sure. And Vinny, the guy who gets shot in the leg. One of the reasons we did it, because he got bit by the dog and his leg was injured. So that's why he's like walking with a limp throughout, because his leg was injured by this piece of shit dog that would not.
In the scene where the dog bites the diamond. He was really attacking that.
So that scene before where he's like, because he hated that coat Vinny was wearing, and so like it went into like how he was like trying to rip off that coat constantly, and
it was really funny to me, because when that was happening, I'm just like, that dog is really, it's like actually attacking the guy. It
absolutely,
really
man. It's really a funny scene. Bricktop was originally supposed to be played by Sean Connery.
Oh, no way.
So, like, here's the thing. I love Bricktop. Bricktop as a character in this movie fucking makes me laugh constantly. I thought Sean Connery would have been a different role, but I think that could have been hilarious as well. Sean Connery as a villain. And
why didn't he do it?
So he was going to do, he wanted to do it too, but like the money was way too low. Like it was way, I mean, the whole budget was $10 million, and he was making like $3 to $4 million a movie. So he's not going to fucking do this movie for what, $250,000? Or he's not Brad Pitt at this point in his life either, where Brad Pitt's willing to do things because he likes the art of it.
Well, exactly. So, Sean Connery at this point has been in the game for like 60 years.
He's a knight at this point, right? He's like, fuck that. I'm not doing anything for fun. So what is your recommendation on 2000 Snatch?
When I started watching this movie, about 15, I think I was actually like 15 or 20 minutes in. So nothing. I thought I was going to hate this movie because the jokes weren't super landing for me. It was a very like, I hadn't seen a movie like this before. And so a lot of it was just like, oh, this is going to be some dumbass humor, you know, like I'm not going to get into it. But like by an hour into this movie, I was having such a fucking fun time with it. Like I was laughing my ass off, you know, like I kind of came to see this movie as just like a wild, fun ride. And I absolutely would recommend this movie.
Yeah.
I wasn't super into the ending because when it ended, I don't know, the ending, something about the ending felt very anticlimactic, you know, like it almost seemed like, it's just done.
Yeah.
You know, like the movie to me seems like Guy Ritchie was just like, I'm going to make a movie where just a bunch of fun stuff happens and then we're done. You know, like we're just gonna get into some fun shit and then we're gonna be done with this. And then that's as far as I'm gonna think about it.
Sure.
And so if you're looking for just like an enjoyable experience, yeah, absolutely watch this movie. This was a fun time. Yeah.
So for me, I watched this movie when it first came out. I don't think I saw it in the theater, but I saw it. Someone I knew bought it on DVD the day it came out, and I watched it, and I fucking loved this movie. For the longest time, I think this was like a top 5 movie for me, like in my rankings. And this is before I got into a lot of film and whatnot. It's definitely fallen out of the top 5 ranking. Okay. But rewatching it, I was like, God damn, I love this fucking movie, man. Like, I was laughing so hard throughout. I know the jokes didn't land for you as well. I laughed at almost every joke throughout here. But, like, here's how, if I was to explain this to a person, like, if they were like, give me a synopsis, what is Snatch? Or what's the feel of Snatch? The way I would put it is, it's a mix of Pulp Fiction, Goodfellas, and Seinfeld together, but at an erratic pace. Okay. Sure. So, like, because it has the unique films like style of like a Pulp Fiction. Yeah. It has that like mafia crime story of Goodfellas and asinine people being assholes and being sarcastic constantly, just like the Seinfeld jokes. And more importantly, like, I don't know, were you a fan of Seinfeld?
No.
Okay. So every Seinfeld episode was a 30-minute episode, and everything like started at the top of a circle, worked its way down, and then finished off at the top of that circle again. And it worked, like everything worked its way back to the top circle joke, okay? Because that was what it was about. That's kind of what this movie did to me. Because everything worked its way back around in through the loops back to the top of the circle. So that was kind of like how I would frame it. But with very fast paced. This is...
it was erratic.
Right.
Sure.
For sure.
That was a good word for it.
This is probably my second favorite crime film, only behind Goodfellas. Like, Goodfellas is the only thing I could think of that I would put ahead of this film. It's just so fun. Really, that's what it boils down to. It's so fun to watch. You laugh a lot. You don't cry. You just kind of go through it.
Yeah, I wouldn't put this movie anywhere near my top of anything. Okay. But that's not to say that I didn't enjoy the movie.
Sure.
I thought this was a fun movie.
Yeah.
It didn't like the reason I say that is because hearing you say, like, I laughed at all the jokes, like I really enjoyed my whole time. I laughed a lot during this movie and enjoyed my whole way through, but nothing in this movie was just like, this is special. Like, to me, it was just like, this was just fun.
Man, there's so many quotes that I love and whatnot from it, just like things that I think, and like so many quotes I used to use all the time that I just kind of forgot about because the movie's 20 years old. But like, they came back to me, like you point out, you like Dykes or whatever, or like, what do you stat of? Z Jarmans and like, all that type of shit. Yeah, it's just really funny to me, and fun shit. So I agree. Like, this is not like something that I would say, hey, rush out and see this as fast as possible.
I wouldn't call it like it's. That's why I said earlier today, when we first started, I wouldn't call this a classic of cinema. Oof. This just seems like a good movie. It's just a movie that exists. It's like Con Air.
Oh, come on.
No, not in that they're equally as good.
All right.
It's just like, a movie that exists that you should see. You'll enjoy it when you watch it.
Yeah, I don't think that about Con Air, but
you don't think Con Air is just a fun movie? That's a fun movie.
If I was going to watch an old school movie like that, in that vein of stuff, it would be The Rock before Con Air.
Sure, okay.
Sure.
The Rock is another one.
Yeah, The Rock is a better comparison in my opinion. But
because I'm not saying as far as like how good they are. I'm not saying quality. Yeah. I'm just saying these are just movies that exist in the world that you should watch because you'll enjoy them when you watch them.
Yeah, and I mean the world that they present is really fun to me. Like, I remember seeing this when I was young, when I first saw this, and I was like, fuck, man, I kind of want to go to the UK and become a fucking mobster here. Although what I do not want to become is a fucking bare knuckle boxer. Jesus, fuck, man. Fuck
all of those scenes were really well shot. It made it seem really, really rough.
That was harsh. All right, so we finished up a Guy Ritchie film, a nice mobster film. So we're going to do another crime film coming up.
Yeah.
Beginning of America crime film with one of my heroes, Daniel Day-Lewis, and another one of my heroes, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yep. We got Gangs of New York coming up in 2 weeks from now.
Hell yeah. Martin Scorsese, man. And, it's shocking to me that you have not seen this film.
Yeah, me
because
too.
of the actors that are in it, and, of course, Scorsese.
It's funny. I had this movie. I owned this movie when I was a kid.
Yeah.
We had the 2-disc DVD for this movie. But it just was never a movie that I watched. Like, it's so weird. I had this movie at home. It's a movie that my family watched. I have no earthly clue why I never watched this movie. I had every opportunity to. I just never did.
You know what the thing for me that I really, really enjoy about this film, it's like I like to watch films, and this is going to be taken slightly out of context, but like I like to watch films about Nazi Germany that are in Nazi Germany that aren't war films, okay? To see like the context. The right, exactly that. Yeah. And this is the same thing with Gangs of New York. The thing I love about Gangs of New York is it's like that early America in the streets of America. Not fucking, Civil War or Revolutionary War or any of that type of shit. Yeah. It's like what's the normal people going on their day-to-day lives and stuff like that.
Period pieces are very interesting ones.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And that's, I want to say going into this film, now obviously I cannot tell you how I'm going to feel at the end of this film. I loved this film when I used to watch it. Okay. So now I have not watched this movie in probably, it's got to be 10 years. Okay. So it's been a while. So we're going to go back a little bit longer. It's 3 hours if I remember correctly. Oh, boy. But yeah, it's Scorsese, man. What does he do that's not 3 hours?
I watched The Irishman. That was fucking 4 hours.
I still haven't seen that movie. So,
all right. Well, we'll see you guys next week.
You will be able to. What I would suggest to any listeners out there, because the next film being also, this is also a nod to, because it's St. Patrick's Day and whatnot, and that's a big thing.
You're fucking loose ass.
Leonardo DiCaprio plays an Irish guy, and his whole gang is Irish and whatnot. So that's the tie to St. Patrick's Day. But what I would highly suggest for you is get an old school flag, American flag, and like wrap it around you while you listen to us live dropping this information. You'll feel like you're with us on the streets of New York.
Yeah, do that. We'll see you live next week. I'm never gonna do this shit live.
Do you know what nemesis means? A righteous infliction of retribution manifested by an appropriate agent, personified in this case by a horrible cunt, me.